According to data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, 1 American suffers a stroke every 40 seconds. What is concerning is that many of these cases begin with small habits, such as a delicious fried egg breakfast that we have always thought was healthy. Have you ever wondered whether the way you have been cooking and eating eggs for many years might be silently thickening your blood and damaging your blood vessels without you realizing it? Eggs are a familiar food in most households. Especially after the age of 60, they are nutritious, easy to prepare, and often connected to warm memories. But because they are so familiar, many people have never stopped to consider whether the way they use eggs is still appropriate for their age. In today's video, you will discover 5 common mistakes that many people over 60 are unknowingly making when eating eggs, along with simple changes to help protect your heart, your blood flow, and your memory. If you are over 60, please watch this video until the end. It may change the way you take care of your health every day. What country are you watching this video from? Please leave a comment below. The first mistake is frying eggs with vegetable oil at high temperatures. You may have never thought about this, but every time you place an egg into a pan of sizzling hot oil, you are not just cooking breakfast, you are also unknowingly triggering small chemical reactions that silently affect your blood vessels and your heart. This is especially true if you are using vegetable oils like corn oil, soybean oil, or canola oil. These are very common in senior households because they are affordable and easy to find. The problem is not the oil itself, but how it reacts when exposed to high heat. According to a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, when oils high in omega-6 are heated, they easily oxidize and form compounds that promote inflammation. Once inside the body, these substances can increase platelet stickiness, thicken the blood, and gradually damage the walls of blood vessels. For younger people, the body may be able to cleanse and repair these small damages on its own. But after the age of 60, when the immune system weakens and capillaries begin to lose their elasticity, this damage can become the foundation for blood clots, heart attacks, or strokes. Imagine the blood vessels in your body like small pipes. If the inner walls become inflamed, sticky, and uneven, blood will have a harder time flowing, become prone to clotting, and lead to dangerous complications that you may not feel until it is too late. A crispy fried egg may taste satisfying, but it could also be the reason your blood is slowly becoming thicker over time. I remember a conversation with an elderly man named George, 74 years old, from Florida. He told me that he had eaten fried eggs every morning for 40 years and always used corn oil because he had heard it was good for the heart. But after experiencing a mild stroke last year, his doctor advised him to change the way he cooked his eggs. At first, he did not believe it. Eggs were his favorite food, and he never used much oil. But after a few months of switching to soft boiling or pan frying with low heat using extra virgin olive oil, something amazing happened. His inflammation markers dropped noticeably. His blood pressure became more stable, and he said his body felt lighter, as if it had been set free. We do not need to give up eggs, and we do not have to stop enjoying our favorite breakfast. What matters is cooking in a way that suits a body that is aging each day. If you still want to eat fried eggs, switch to using cold-pressed olive oil or avocado oil, and keep the heat very low. Cook just until done. Then turn off the stove. Never let the oil start to smoke, because that is a sign its structure is broken down and harmful toxins are being released. Take a moment to think about your kitchen habits this morning. Have you ever heard the oil crackling loudly when you drop the egg into the pan? If you have, then there is a good chance you began your day with a dose of harm to your blood vessels without even knowing it. And this is only the first of 5 common mistakes people over 60 make when eating eggs. But do not worry. We will now explore the second mistake, one that may seem harmless but directly affects your immune system and digestion. The second mistake is eating undercooked eggs with raw egg whites. You may have heard that soft-boiled eggs are healthy because they preserve more nutrients, especially in the yolk. Many older adults still keep the habit of dipping bread into soft-boiled eggs as a quick and tasty breakfast. But one thing that few people know is that undercooked egg whites carry hidden risks, especially for those over the age of 60. Raw egg whites can contain a type of protein called avidin when not properly cooked. This protein binds tightly to vitamin B7, also known as biotin, in the intestines, preventing your body from absorbing it. Biotin is a very important nutrient for the brain, the nervous system, and the skin, When you have a prolonged biotin deficiency, you may notice increased forgetfulness, afogemind, dry skin, or thinning hair without any clear reason. In addition, raw egg whites may carry salmonella, a type of bacteria that causes diarrhea, stomach pain, and intestinal infections. You might be thinking, I have eaten raw eggs since I was young and nothing ever happened. That is true. When your body is young and strong, it can handle bacteria and mild digestive issues more easily. But after the age of 60, the immune system weakens, the intestinal lining becomes thinner, and your natural defenses are no longer the same. A digestive issue at age 30 might last only a day, but in older adults, the same symptoms can lead to dehydration, fatigue, low blood pressure, and even hospitalization if not treated quickly. I remember Mrs. Barbara, 76 years old, who lives in Oregon. She regularly ate soft-boiled eggs every morning because they were soft, easy to eat, and delicious. But within a single year, she suffered 2 bouts of intestinal infections that left her exhausted and needing IV fluids at the hospital. When the doctors carefully reviewed her diet, they discovered that the culprit was the undercooked eggs. At first, she did not believe it because she had eaten that way her entire life. But then she decided to try a simple change cooking the eggs until the whites were fully set, while still keeping the yolk slightly soft but not runny. Within just a few weeks, het digestion improved, her appetite returned, haar maag felt clear, and she no longer experienced that mild nausea after breakfast like before. So how can you tell if an egg is cooked enough? It is very simple. If you tilt the plate and the egg white is still liquid, shiny, and transparent, it means the egg is still raw. Cook a little longer until the white turns opaque and firm. But keep the yolk soft if that is how you prefer it. With just this small change, your body will be better protected against invisible risks that cannot be seen with the naked eye. If you believe that as long as the eggs are clean, they are safe, then please do not skip the next part. Because the third mistake involves an action that many people do every morning in an effort to save money, but it unintentionally harms their own health. The third mistake is reusing old oil to fry eggs. One habit that may seem harmless but quietly harms your blood vessels is reusing cooking oil to fry eggs. Many older adults do this for a familiar reason: to save money. You might use a pan to fry eggs in the morning, keep the leftover oil for the next day, and think it still smells fine and looks normal. But what your eyes cannot see and your nose cannot detect is exactly what may be attacking your blood vessels from the inside. Day by day, when cooking oil is reheated multiple times, especially at high temperatures, it produces harmful oxidized substances such as aldehydes and compounds known as free radicals. These substances not only reduce the elasticity of blood vessels, but also cause the blood to become thicker, increasing the risk of forming small clots known as thrombosis. These clots can block arteries in the brain or the heart. According to a study from Tufts University, regular consumption of oxidized oil is directly linked to chronic vascular inflammation and memory decline in older adults. I once met an elderly man named Frank, 80 years old, who lived alone in a small town in Ohio. He was very frugal and cooked for himself every day. Every morning, he would fry eggs using a small amount of canola oil, then carefully pour the leftover oil into a small jar to reuse the next day. He had done this for years without noticing any problems, until one day, during a routine checkup, his doctor discovered signs of arteriosclerosis, and blood test results showed inflammation of the blood vessel lining. After reviewing his diet, they identified the main cause, the habit of reusing old oil. At first, Mr. Frank was skeptical, but after hearing the explanation, he agreed to try a new approach. Each time he fried eggs, he used just 1 teaspoon of fresh olive oil, cooked on medium heat, and never reused it. As a result, within 6 months, his inflammation markers decreased. He felt lighter, had less fatigue after breakfast, and his mind was more alert. Cooking oil should not be treated like a precious resource that must be preserved to the last drop. Think of it this way: you would never reuse your mouthwash from the day before because you know it contains bacteria and residue. So why reuse oil that has been boiled repeatedly, knowing it has already broken down? Today, healthy oils such as extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, or grapeseed oil can be used in very small amounts for each meal. You only need a teaspoon to cook 1 egg at a low temperature. Throwing away used oil is not a waste. It is an investment in healthy blood flow, mental clarity, and physical mobility every day. Have you ever noticed that used oil smells slightly burnt or looks darker, but you still used it out of reluctance to waste it? If so, it may be time to ask a serious question. Is this small saving silently costing you your health? And coming up next is an even more common mistake, a pairing that seems perfect between eggs and a popular breakfast item, but it turns out to be a trap for your heart and memory. The fourth mistake is eating eggs with processed meats. A plate of fried eggs with a few crispy strips of bacon or some sizzling sausage slices has been a familiar image on American breakfast tables for decades. It is not just a dish, but a part of memory, a bit of warmth from childhood, from weekend mornings when the whole family gathered together. But if you are still keeping this habit after the age of 60, it may be time to take a closer look at this combination through the eyes of someone who wants to live a long and healthy life. Eggs, when prepared properly, are a wonderful food source packed with high-quality protein, choline from memory, and healthy fats. The problem is not the egg itself, but what you pair it with. Processed meats like bacon, sausages, and cured ham often contain large amounts of salt, preservatives, nitrates, and saturated fats. When these substances combine with the natural cholesterol found in eggs, they can raise triglycerides, increase bad LDL cholesterol, and trigger chronic inflammation in the blood vessels, thereby raising the risk of clot formation. According to the American Heart Association, processed meats are classified as foods that increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. What is concerning is that this impact does not happen immediately, but builds up day by day, breakfast by breakfast, until one day you feel more tired, more short of breath, or end up in the hospital from a sudden heart attack. I want to tell you about Mrs. Barbara, 72 years old, who lives in Kansas. Every morning for over 30 years, she ate 2 scrambled eggs with 3 slices of bacon. She was healthy, cheerful, did not smoke, and did not drink. But during a routine health check, her doctor detected early signs of atherosclerosis. She was stunned, but I haven't changed anything. I still eat the same. She said that very sentence led the doctor to gently reply, "That's the problem. Your body today is not the same as it was 30 years ago." After that, Mrs. Barber replaced bacon with lightly sauteed mushrooms and olive oil, added a few slices of avocado, and occasionally had lightly toasted whole grain bread instead of meat. Within just a few months, her blood fat levels improved. She felt lighter, no longer had heartburn after breakfast, and her mind became more alert. You do not have to give up your favorite egg dish. Just by changing what you eat alongside the eggs, you are helping your blood flow more smoothly and avoiding the hidden risks behind what seems like a familiar meal. And if you are thinking it's just breakfast, it can't make that much of a difference, then stay tuned for the next section where I will share a habit that many people follow for convenience and to save time, but it quietly weakens both blood vessels and memory without anyone realizing it. The fifth mistake is reheating eggs multiple times and storing them in the refrigerator for too long in the hustle and bustle of life. Especially for older adults who live alone or prefer not to cook often, preparing eggs once and storing them in the refrigerator for the whole week may sound very convenient. You might boil a batch of eggs or make several servings of scrambled eggs ahead of time, then simply reheat them the next morning. But perhaps you have never thought that reheating eggs over and over, which seems harmless, could silently be a source of inflammation, thickened blood, and increased risk of clot formation in the body. Eggs are rich in protein and contain both sulfur and iron, which are beneficial when the egg is fresh. However, once eggs have been cooked, cooled, and reheated, especially multiple times, the protein molecules begin to break down and change structure. Your body, which naturally weakens with age, may start to recognize these altered proteins as foreign substances, triggering a mild and prolonged inflammatory response without you realizing it. This can make you feel tired or bloated after meals and also raises the risk of inflammation in the lining of blood vessels, a major factor that leads to blood clots and atherosclerosis. Furthermore, improperly storing cooked eggs, such as leaving them in the refrigerator for too long or keeping them at room temperature for over 2 hours before chilling, can allow dangerous bacteria like salmonella to grow. For younger people, a minor digestive issue may pass in a day, but for those over 65, A single foodborne infection can cause a dehydration, low blood pressure, temporary confusion, or even require hospitalization for IV fluids or antibiotics. I remember Mr. Walter, 78 years old, a retired teacher in Oregon. After his wife passed away, he got used to cooking once for the whole week. He often prepared a large pan of scrambled eggs, divided it into plastic containers, and kept them in the fridge. Every morning, he simply microwaved one portion for 1 or 2 minutes to have a ready meal. At first, everything seemed fine, but after a few months, he began to feel bloated after breakfast, unusually sleepy, experienced fluctuating blood pressure, and had mild dizzy spells with no clear cause. When his doctor inquired more about his diet, Mr. Walter realized that eggs, something he thought was healthy, were actually causing him trouble due to the habit of reheating them multiple times. After receiving advice, he switched to cooking smaller portions, eating them within 24 hours, reheating only once, and using a steamer or nonstick pan instead of the microwave. Within just a few weeks, the discomfort decreased noticeably, and he felt healthier and more clear-headed in the mornings. You do not need to give up eggs, and you do not have to reject convenience. But remember, after the age of 60, your body no longer processes food the same way it did at 30 or 40. Each time you reheat an egg, nutritional value decrease. While the risk to your blood and vessels increases, the advice is this: if you have a habit of prepping eggs in advance, make sure to chill them within 2 hours after cooking. Consume them within 1 day if possible, and only reheat them once. If you can, cook fresh eggs each day, even if it is just one simple boiled egg. It is not only about flavor, but an investment in your memory, your heart, and your long-term ability to care for yourself. By now, you may have started to realize that even a small egg can determine the health of your blood vessels in 2 very different directions, depending on whether you understand it correctly and prepare it properly. We have just taken a small but very important journey together to explore how a familiar food like eggs can either protect or damage your blood vessel health after the age of 60. It is not because eggs are bad, nor because aging makes us weak. It is simply because the body after 60 needs to be treated differently with more wisdom, more care, and more respect. We have learned about 5 silent but common mistakes that many people make every day frying eggs in overheated vegetable oil. Eating undercooked egg whites, reusing cooking oil, pairing eggs with processed meats, and reheating pre-cooked eggs multiple times. These seemingly small habits, when repeated every morning, can lead to vein inflammation, elevated blood fat, clot formation, and memory decline, all because of an egg that was not prepared with care. The good news is that you do not have to give up eggs. All it takes is a few gentle changes: boil instead of fry. Use fresh, healthy oils instead of old ones. Eat eggs with vegetables instead of processed meats. And cook fresh portions instead of reheating them over and over. Just one small change like this can help your blood flow better, your heart beat stronger, your mind stay sharper, and your days feel lighter. If you found today's content helpful, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss future videos about nutrition, exercise, and wellness tips designed especially for people over 60. How do you usually prepare your eggs each morning? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every message from our lovely senior community. And if you think this video is valuable, please send it to a loved one. It might be the gift of health they truly need right now.